All right, one more bike in this batch, and this one is a vintage mountain bike. This is called the Miyata Elevation 200, and it's a very cool bike. Let's see what we got here. We have a chromoly fork. That's always nice. Oftentimes when you have a chromoly bike, the fork is going to be high-tension steel. We have cantilever brakes in the front by Shimano. Ritchie grips, Shimano 200 GS brake shifters. These are thumb shifters. In my experience, these oftentimes fail because of the plastic internals kind of getting brittle and then no longer shifting properly, or there's like a buildup of gunk. But I wouldn't be surprised if I have to switch these out, and if I do, they'll probably become friction shifters. The stem and the handlebars probably seen better days, but that's okay. This is interesting because you have this like silicone tubing, which keeps the cable nice and fresh and away from the elements. Over here you can see this cable's in pretty good shape. We've got two water bottle cages. We have Shimano 200 GS on the front and rear derailleurs. We have a BioPace. This is an elliptical. You can see that it's kind of an oval. It's not a circle shape, but that's a relatively cheaper crank set. You can see these aren't like interchangeable chain rings, so that's not great. We've got a cycle design rear rack. These are actually cool stop pads. I've never seen cool stop pads sort of that old and brittle, so those will have to change. There's a looks like a cat's eye light on the back, and the frame itself is, I'm going to assume it's chromoly because Miyata's a pretty good brand like that. Paint job's okay. It has some cool 90s, 80s decal work, and it's a pretty small frame. This is a really cool bike. I think a lot of vintage bike geeks have come around to appreciating old mountain bikes. I know I certainly have. And the reason why these are good is because I think of sturdiness and versatility. Sturdy because these 26-inch rims tend to stay true because they're smaller. Versatile because you can basically do anything in this. You can put more road-friendly tires on there. It could be a great commuter bike. You can definitely do some touring on these. A lot of people do. It takes all standard parts, so if you wanted to upgrade the stem and the handlebars and the wheel set and the crank set and the derailleurs, like, you can just buy anything basically off the shelf and fit it in there. They're just really cool bikes, and folks generally are looking for road bikes and hybrids, so you can get these old mountain bikes for basically nothing. And in fact, I got this one for nothing. The gentleman who sold me the Specialized Crossroads just gave me this for free because it was sitting around. Oftentimes these are going to have these TIG welds, but you can see there's actually a lug here, so that's kind of neat. This also has these nice forged dropouts, which is just like higher quality than you typically see in a lot of these older bikes. If you're interested in biking or getting into biking, and you see this kind of older mountain bike and you're willing to invest in some upgrades, they can be a great value. Another nice thing about these mountain bikes is that they have 3 chains up front, including that granny gear, which makes it great for commuting, or if you're going to do fitness rides through hills and things like that. That'll save you your legs for sure. These vintage mountain bikes can be interesting though, because they can have a very long top tube, and so this one does. So you want to make sure that those fit well, and if you find yourself reaching, you might want to get a shorter stem. That shouldn't be a problem on this, but I've had some vintage mountain bikes with a ridiculously long top tube, and you have to make adjustments to the stem and handlebar to bring those grips back, otherwise you're going to be stooped over like on a racing bike. But there you go. That's the Miyata Elevation 200. Great example of a vintage steel mountain bike. So I'll do a quick after video, almost complete, of this Miyata Elevation 200. This one required a little bit of work, a little bit of extra cleaning for sure. The cool stop pads are a little bit scuffy on the outside, but otherwise they're in pretty good condition. The shifters, as I had predicted, were pretty much shot. The front derailleur shifter really wasn't catching at all on any of the gears, and the rear derailleur was only catching on about 3 of the gears. And so I just swapped in these cheap thumb friction shifters in, put on some new grips, and these are fantastic. They're just basically a lever that is in there, not too tight, not too loose, and they're super reliable and as accurate as you can make them. The handlebar and the stem were looking a little bit scruffy, so I wiped that down with a little bit of WD-40 to give it a somewhat of a shine, give it a good clean. Those shifters came with new cables, so we got new shifter cables. Brake cables were fine, and the seat, that was trashed, so I've got to get a new seat, and also those plastic pedals are trashed, so I'm going to wait on some new pedals. But all in all, it's a pretty good bike, and it's gonna be a really really good little scoot for somebody. Nice small mountain bike, and that's the Miyata Elevation 200.